Most visitors never make it this far into the reserve. Hidden deep inside the Real Dinosaur Zoo is one of the largest enclosed ecosystems ever constructed. A sealed prehistoric sanctuary designed for creatures that once ruled the skies. Inside, entire flocks move freely above the canopy. But not everything inside the dome can fly, and as the sun begins to fall over the reserve, the aviary becomes something else entirely. Before the age of giant tyrannosaurs and colossal sauropods, the skies and forests were already alive with a remarkable experiment in evolution. Archaeopteryx. Living more than 150 million years ago during the late Jurassic, this small-feathered dinosaur possessed characteristics of both ancient reptiles and modern birds. It carried sharp teeth within its jaws, clawed fingers on its wings, and a long bony tail, yet its body was covered in feathers remarkably similar to those seen in birds today. Here within the reserve, our Archaeopteryx colony spends most of its day moving through the lower forest canopy, searching for insects, small reptiles and other easy meals hidden amongst the foliage. Though modest in size, animals like these represent one of the most important evolutionary transitions ever discovered. As we continue deeper into the dome, the forest grows denser, and the warning signs ahead serve as a reminder that not every resident here is quite so small. Gastornis. Standing over 6 feet tall, this giant flightless bird once walked the forests of prehistoric Europe and North America, long after the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs. For decades, scientists debated whether Gastornis was a fearsome predator or a peaceful plant eater. Today, most evidence suggests it likely spent its days browsing vegetation along ancient forest floors. Whatever its diet, there is little doubt about its presence. Even within this vast enclosure, Gastornis commands attention. Keepers work closely with the flock, allowing visitors a rare glimpse into the daily lives of one of prehistory's most unusual birds. As we continue along the path, shadows pass overhead, a brief glimpse of what awaits further along the trail. But size is not the only way to stand out here. Tapejara. Named for the ancient peoples of Brazil, this remarkable pterosaur carried one of the most distinctive head crests ever evolved. Unlike many of its larger relatives, Tapejara likely spent much of its time moving through forest canopies in search of fruit and other plant material. Throughout the enclosure, small colonies move freely between the upper forests and sheltered feeding areas. Their vivid colors and unusual appearance make them difficult to overlook. But elsewhere in the dome, a different strategy emerged. Before we meet the giants of the sky, our journey takes us somewhere few visitors ever see: the nursery. Behind the glass, the next generation is already beginning to emerge. Eggs of different sizes and species are carefully monitored by the animal care team, providing the stable conditions needed for healthy development. For many of these young animals, this will be the first time they experience the world beyond the shell. Moments like this are rarely witnessed in nature: a tiny movement, a crack in the surface, and the beginning of a life that one day may soar above the forests and waterfalls of the reserve. From above, the true scale of the sanctuary begins to reveal itself. A network of connected habitats stretches across the mountainside, with waterfalls, forests, and open flight corridors designed to mimic the environments these animals once inhabited. From here, the forest seems endless. Waterfalls disappear into the clouds below, and somewhere ahead, the giants of the sky are already gathering. Below us lies the feeding dome. One of the few places in the reserve where visitors can stand face to face with the rulers of the ancient sky. Suspended throughout the reserve are feeding platforms like these, allowing the animals to forage naturally.
Welcome to the aviary feeding platforms. These suspended trays keep the pterosaurs flying naturally while we safely provide their daily food,
while providing visitors with a rare view of life high above the forest floor. Although feeding demonstrations take place throughout the day, food remains available at all times. The animals regulate their own activity, moving freely between habitats as they choose.
We found that a balanced diet of fish and fruit keeps our pterosaurs healthy, active, and surprisingly content.
One of the first to arrive is Anhanguera. More than 100 million years ago, this remarkable pterosaur patrolled the coastlines, rivers, and shallow seas of what is now South America. Distinctive crests above and below its jaws made Anhanguera instantly recognizable amongst the many flying reptiles that shared the skies of the early Cretaceous. Fish formed a major part of its diet, with its long, narrow jaws perfectly adapted for capturing prey near the water's surface. Here within the aviary dome, that behavior remains easy to observe. When food arrives at the feeding platforms, Anhanguera is often among the first to investigate. Not far behind comes one of the most recognizable flying reptiles ever discovered, Pteranodon. Living during the late Cretaceous, animals like these soared above the vast inland seas that once divided North America. With wingspans exceeding 20 feet, Pteranodon was built for efficient long-distance flight, using ocean winds and thermal currents to remain airborne for extended periods. The large crest extending from the back of the skull remains one of its most distinctive features, though its exact purpose is still debated by scientists today. Watching one glide effortlessly across the dome, it becomes easy to understand why Pteranodon remains one of the most iconic pterosaurs ever discovered. Often called pterodactyls, these animals were actually part of a much larger group known as the pterosaurs, the first vertebrates to achieve powered flight. Most pterosaurs are believed to have fed on fish, small animals, and a variety of other prey, depending on the species. Yet here at the Real Dinosaur Zoo, some have developed a particular fondness for fruit. It's a favorite among both visitors and residents alike. Watching an animal like this feed is a remarkable reminder that even the giants of prehistory had surprisingly ordinary moments in their daily lives. Despite their appearance, pterosaurs were not dinosaurs. They were a separate group of flying reptiles that shared the skies with dinosaurs for more than 150 million years. And then one of the true giants of the ancient sky, Quetzalcoatlus. With a wingspan comparable to a small aircraft, high along the cliffs, Quetzalcoatlus spends much of its time resting, surveying the landscape below, before launching into the open air. This extraordinary pterosaur was among the largest animals ever to take flight. Despite its enormous size, scientists believe Quetzalcoatlus launched into flight using all four limbs, allowing one of the largest flying animals in history to take to the skies. For a moment, it is easy to imagine a world where creatures like this ruled the skies. Crossing into the wetlands, the landscape changes once again. Boardwalks wind through shallow water and dense vegetation, and few animals are more unusual than this, Deinocheirus. For decades, all we knew of this giant dinosaur were its enormous arms, leaving scientists to wonder what sort of creature they belonged to. The answer proved stranger than anyone expected. With its broad beak, towering hump, and remarkable size, Deinocheirus remains one of the most distinctive dinosaurs ever discovered. As we continue along the forest floor, smaller residents begin to appear amongst the foliage and riverbanks. A reminder that even in a world of giants, the smallest animals often go unnoticed. As the afternoon sun begins to fade, the sounds of the forest lead us towards the Raptor Roost, where guests gather to rest, share a meal, and take in the final views of the Aviary Dome before evening arrives.
Welcome to Raptor Roost.
As evening settles across the sanctuary, the reserve takes on an entirely different character. The crowds grow quieter, the light softens, and the forests begin preparing for another night. For a few brief moments, it feels as though time itself has slowed. One by one, the lights of the reserve begin to glow. Above us, the evening sky gives way to a sea of stars. And as our journey through the Aviary Dome comes to an end, we leave behind a world where ancient life still thrives, hidden beneath the glass. Until next time, thank you for visiting the Real Dinosaur Zoo. Safe travels, and we'll see you on your next adventure.